high drama in Dhaka. On the 5th of August, Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's palatial official residence, Ghana Bhavan, became the epicenter of utter chaos and commotion. Thousands ransacked the high-luxury drawing room, flaunting victory signs, carrying away just about anything they can lay their hands on: televisions, chairs and tables, and more. And that's not all. Protesters were seen lying on Hasina's bed and even feasting on food in her kitchen. Raw fish, to chicken, duck, and even a Dior suitcase. Protesters did not leave anything. Some even climbed atop a statue of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, Hasina's father. These high-voltage scenes came moments after Sheikh Hasina stepped down and fled to India.
Standing in the Ghana Bhavan premises, we are proudly declaring the 16 years of autocracy has come to an end, and we have made sure that we are victorious.
On the 4th of August, a day before this, nearly 100 people were killed and hundreds more injured, as renewed anti-government protests swept across Bangladesh. The total death toll in violence-hit Bangladesh rose past 300 amid clashes between security forces and protesters.
Today I'm not safe. My sisters are not safe. The state must take responsibility for all those who have been killed and injured so far.
So what's behind Bangladesh's protests against Sheikh Hasina? What triggered the job quota protests? What prompted the Prime Minister to resign and flee the country? What happens to Bangladesh now? And what is Bangladesh's Iron Lady's real story? Has Sheikh Hasina fallen from grace in the very nation her father founded? On WION Wideangle this week, we decode the state of affairs. Bangladesh has been engulfed by protests and violence since June this year, after student groups demanded the scrapping of a controversial quota system in government jobs. The matter escalated into a campaign to seek the ouster of Sheikh Hasina.
As so many lives have already been lost, we are no more confined to quota reform protest. We want the reform of the state mechanism. We want a just state where we can speak freely.
We are very angry, the students. We are angry, we are frustrated, and we don't believe this government. We want a government whom we can believe in. We want a media which actually serves the nation, not the government only.
Hasina had won a fourth straight term in January in an election boycotted by the opposition. So what exactly was this job quota system that created an upheaval in Bangladesh? Students from government and private universities across Bangladesh demand reform in the controversial job quota system, under which more than half of much sought-after government jobs are reserved. On the 5th of June, the High Court ordered reinstatement of the 30% quota for children of freedom fighters that was removed in 2018. The initial protests were triggered here. Students have been holding rallies over public sector job quotas since then. Let's look at the now scrapped quota, why it was instituted in the first place, and why the government was looking to defend it. After the Bangladesh Liberation War of 1971, the nation was remodeled. One of the chief promises was made by Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, who assured that the new nation would do justice to those who sacrificed and suffered for the cause of freedom, facing off against the Pakistani military. After Sheikh Mujib was assassinated in 1975, the quota system saw changes. Down the years, the number of freedom fighters who could avail the quota system reduced. This led to underutilization of the quota for the purposes for which it was initially meant, and thus increased the chances of its misuse. Critics say it was fair to grant reservations to freedom fighters when they were young and looking for work. But after their death, the reservations were being given to the children and then the grandchildren of the freedom fighters. Suspicions are that the system benefited children of pro-government groups who backed Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. This, the protesters are opposed to. Amid high unemployment rates, demands have peaked for a merit-based quota-free system. Anti-quota protesters blame the students' wing of the ruling party for the violence. Let's take a look at the significant highlights. It was Sheikh Hasina's government that scrapped the quota system in 2018. In 2021, a group of petitioners went to the High Court to fight to get the 30% quota back. After hearing the issue for 3 years, the High Court reinstated the 30% quota on the 1st of July. On the 14th of July, during a press conference at Sheikh Hasina's residence, when she was asked about the student protests, this is what she said.
মুক্তিযুদ্ধের বিরুদ্ধে এত ক্ষোভ কেন মুক্তিযোদ্ধাদের নাতিপুতিরাও পাবে না তাহলে কি রাজাকারের নাতিপুতিরা পাবে
The remark changed the political landscape of Bangladesh forever. The word Razakar means volunteer or helper in Persian and Urdu. The Razakars were a paramilitary force that collaborated with the Pakistan army to suppress the 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War. They were accused of heinous crimes. Today, the word is considered derogatory in Bangladesh. Hasina's statement backfired and gave birth to a new slogan for the protest. Tukke amike, Razakar, Razakar. Who are you? Who am I? Razakar, Razakar. Schools and universities across Bangladesh were shut until further notice. Sheikh Hasina refused to meet the students' demands, citing ongoing court proceedings. Till 21st of July, nearly 200 people were killed in clashes. The Attorney General approached the Supreme Court right after the High Court's decision. A petition was filed on July 16. On the 21st of July, the Supreme Court delivered its verdict in the quota case, abolishing most of the quotas for civil service jobs and leaving 93% of vacancies for general applicants.
5% থাকবে সাধারণ কোটা থাকবে 93% আর 7% কোটা থাকবে তার মধ্যে 5% হতে মুক্তিযোদ্ধা তার সন্তান এবং তার পুত্রদের
On the 3rd of August, after a brief pause, protests started again. student organizers demanded the resignation of the Prime Minister, a public apology for the violence, and release of those detained. On the 5th of August, those thousands of people from all over Dhaka and surrounding areas defied the curfew to converge on the capital's center. Crowds stormed Hasina's official residence. Hasina handed her resignation letter to President Mohammad Shahabuddin and fled to neighboring India. After the resignation of Hasina following weeks of deadly protests, the focus now shifts to who will control the South Asian country. In an address to the nation, Army Chief General Waqar Uzzaman announced an interim government will now run Bangladesh and called for peace.
I think that what had happened with the army was at some point the army said that they could not shoot at their own people. And that is what changed. It changed when the army stopped standing by the political leadership and suggested that for her own safety, she must leave the country.
On the 6th of August, Bangladesh's President Mohammad Shahabuddin dissolved the parliament to make way for an interim administration. The move has cleared the way for fresh elections.
The way Sheikh Hasina amended the constitution make it completely useless now, because constitutions provided the cover for her illegitimate, undemocratic actions. And so the tall task right now is cleaning up constitution, rewriting it if needed.
Bangladesh is one of the world's most densely populated countries. It was formerly East Pakistan, where in 1949 the Awami League was formed. The party, under the leadership of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, led the struggle for independence from Pakistan. On 16th December 1971, the territory of East Pakistan broke away from Pakistan. Helped by India in its war for liberation against Pakistan, it went on to become Bangladesh. West Pakistan became the Pakistan we know today. On 12th January 1972, Mujibur, the father of former Bangladeshi Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, assumed the position of Prime Minister in Dhaka. Mujibur introduced a one-party rule. 3 years later, on 15th August 1975, Mujibur Rahman was assassinated, along with most of his family, in a military coup. Hasina was in West Germany with her husband, Ousted Mia, when her father was killed. After her father's demise, Sheikh Hasina flew to India and took political asylum there with her husband, 2 children, and her sister. The years that followed after Mujibur's assassination saw a series of abortive coups. On 23rd June 1996, Sheikh Hasina was for the first time sworn in as the country's prime minister. She served 5 terms as Bangladesh's prime minister, 4 of them consecutively since 2009, including this year's short-lived tenure. The Awami League, led by Hasina, has a pan-Bangladesh presence. Hasina was the target of an assassination attempt in 2004 when she was in the opposition. 2007, she was arrested for corruption and charged with murder by the military-backed caretaker government. In the 2006 to 2008 period, Bangladesh had a political crisis when its generals imposed a state of emergency. Since 2009, under Sheikh Hasina, once one of the world's poorest, the Muslim-majority nation achieved credible economic success. A World Bank report says extreme poverty decreased from 9% in 2016 to 5% in 2022 in Bangladesh. In the past 15 years, Hasina has also been credited for sheltering Rohingya Muslims fleeing persecution in neighboring Myanmar. But critics say the economic success has come at the cost of democracy and human rights. Hasina has been accused of putting her opponents behind bars, including Bangladesh Nobel Peace Laureate Muhammad Yunus, an 84-year-old economist who is credited with lifting millions out of poverty with his pioneering microfinance bank. He earned the enmity of Hasina, who accused him of sucking blood from the poor. Observers allege that Hasina's rule has majorly been marked by repressive authoritarian measures.
Main reason is this, that the people are now suffering there economically, politically, and the entire society has become in such a place that no governance is there. So unless there is a governance, there is good governance, there is law and order situation is good, the people cannot live happily. That's the whole problem.
The current unrest was the result of student anger as the youth grappled with high unemployment. Nearly 32 million young people in Bangladesh are out of work in a population of 170 million. This is precisely the reason why public sector jobs with regular wage hikes and privileges have become attractive to the people. The flagging economy, once among the world's fastest growing on the back of the country's booming garments sector, has also stagnated. Post-COVID-19 pandemic, the country has faced persistently high inflation that hit close to 10% in recent months. Despite her efforts to defend her political inheritance, Hasina's grip on power in Bangladesh has eventually worn out. On the 8th of August, Muhammad Yunus, a Nobel Peace Prize winner renowned for his work with impoverished communities and a vocal critic of the ousted Sheikh Hasina, has been sworn in as chief advisor of Bangladesh's interim government. Yunus will serve as head of the government till fresh elections are held. The decision was taken by Bangladesh President Mohamed Shahabuddin at a meeting that includes leaders from student protests, military officials, civil society, representatives, and business figures. An economist and banker, Muhammad Yunus won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2006. The 86-year-old was awarded for his pioneering work in helping millions of people out of poverty. Yunus established the Grameen Bank in 1983 to offer small loans to entrepreneurs, typically ineligible for traditional credit. The bank's success in alleviating poverty inspired similar microfinance initiatives globally. However, Yunus's relationship with Sheikh Hasina soured in 2008 when her government launched investigations against him. In 2011, the Hasina-led government removed Yunus as managing director of Grameen Bank. Yunus's troubles didn't end there. In 2013, Yunus faced trial on charges of violating foreign currency rules. And in January this year, Yunus was sentenced to 6 months in jail for violating labor laws before getting bail in March. Yunus's lawyers said he's facing more than 100 other charges over labor law violations and alleged graft. But Yunus received multiple international honors and enjoys goodwill at home and abroad. In August last year, over 170 global figures, including the likes of former US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, signed a petition asking Hasina to stop the persecution of Yunus. And now, it is this reliable reputation that has led him to become the chief advisor of the interim government.
I believe what I hear from the positive news that the Professor Yunus will be heading the interim government. That's a very, very bold and encouraging step. I hope he will use this opportunity to help Bangladesh out of this crisis, and as soon as possible, but not hurriedly. Bangladesh needs a solid fix, not an easy fix.
She's in good spirits, but she is very, very disheartened and very disappointed at the people of Bangladesh. After all she has done, after all the development, Bangladesh is now going to become the next Pakistan.
That was Sajib Ousted, son of former PM Hasina, who told WION Bangladesh will be the next Pakistan. For large sections of Bangladesh's population, Sheikh Hasina was a force of stability who turned around Bangladesh's economy. But as the economy slowed and employment opportunities in the private sector shrank, the people of Bangladesh voiced their concerns, and the reinstatement of the quota system further inflamed passions. Sheikh Hasina's inability to handle dissent at home led to loosening her tight grip of 15 years. Both Hasina's legacy and Bangladesh's polity stand fractured.